Kia ora, good evening, Vanakkam, Vandanam, Namaste, Namaskar, Christchurch, and friends in New Zealand. Welcome back to yet another episode of Trendy Thalaiva Selva, only on India Live, where colors come alive. It's so good to see you all again, one more week. I hope you are all doing well. The weather in Christchurch has been terrible for some time, and it's just getting better. I hope that the summers will soon start to be as good, and you all have like a great time. I hope you're all doing well. I know our Diwali season has now just started to wind down. I'm not seeing any more Diwali events in and around in New Zealand, so I would assume so. And I think people are now starting to gear up for Christmas, which is good. Again, more holidays to come. I'm sure some of you might have plans to travel within New Zealand, or you also might have plans to go to India. So please travel safe and take care of yourself, and make sure that you're keeping everything safe and secure for yourself and your family members. We are almost in the last month of the year. पता ही नहीं चला कि कैसे चले गया ये साल. 12 महीने खत्म हो गए. 2023 भी खत्म हो गया. आई थिंक कोविड का इम्पैक्ट इस साल उतना ज़्यादा नहीं रहा, but I think it's still having some sort of like impact, particularly within the travel industry where the flights still have not like resumed its complete operations. The good news is that United is flying to Christchurch. We are also having China Southern back, which means that there are two additional airlines that are coming into Christchurch internationally. थोड़ा options है, पर अभी भी flight tickets बहुत महंगा है. I was initially thinking that इस साल इंडिया जाऊं Christmas break पे, but the return trips are like costing kind of like $3,000 plus. Even flying out from Auckland has become expensive. So I think the impact of COVID, particularly on the travel industry, is still like there. And then the economic recessions and stuff. The good news is US is slightly recovering from its inflation. थोड़ा inflation वहाँ पे कम हो रहा है. बाकी New Zealand में तो inflation अभी कम नहीं हुआ. Inflation अभी भी ज़्यादा है. Cost of living, everybody is impacted due to cost of living. And finally, we have a new government, which is good. I mean, good in sense that we actually have a government. We need to wait and see, good in sense that how they are governing the country. There is a coalition government between the New Zealand First National and ACT party that's in power right now. We now have a prime minister who's taken charge, and the first sort of like thing they announced this week was interesting, that they would want to change the names of the government agencies, and make sure that they are all in English and not in Te Maori, um, which had some sort of like impact on several people, thinking that is that a priority, or like is that the right thing to do, or like is it not needed at all. So those are the questions that are being asked. I know that for the fact that there were like several protests that were staged across the country. Particularly the ACT Party's leader David Simo came out and said that the government is an all-inclusive government. They would treat everyone equally and with respect. And he said that people should allow like sort of like more time before coming on the roads and protesting. So not taking any stands or sides here, folks. But those are some of the happenings that are interestingly, going around, around us. um, Coming back to the weather, the day today has been like really good. Again, I was able to wash my clothes. इतने दिनों से तो मतलब कपड़े सुखाने के भी टाइम नहीं मिले थे, इतनी बारिश हो रही थी. I mean, I was not enjoying like cold weather anyways. I'm looking forward to the summer, but again, if you're traveling, please travel safe, and take care of your families. So yeah, let's dive into today's show. As always, like I start the show with telling you a tirukural. And today I am actually going to say a tirukural that is having some sort of like relationship with whatever has been happening with me and my family and stuff this week. And it's around resilience. Resilience is basically nothing but like, you're going through certain things, and you you endure that, may it be like pain, suffering, happiness, etc., etc., and then you come stronger on the other side, and try to rebuild the things that you either have lost, or like, was taken away from you, and become stronger and be steady. So yeah, mostly resilience is inbuilt in most of us as humans. We all have that sort of like fighting spirit, where we come together and then fight to get and achieve whatever we wanted to. I'm just in a new place, folks. I just shifted homes this week, so I'm still like finding a comfort place for myself to set up everything and then talk to you. But if you see me making some adjustments in between as I speak to you, I apologize to you upfront. So the Tirukural today we are going to talk about is, and it goes like this. Valluvar says, "Sidai vidat tolkar puravor pudayambir பட்டுப்பாடூன்றுங் களிறு சிதைவிடத் தொல்கார் உரவோர் புதையம்பர் பட்டுப்பாடூன்றுங் களிறு." So Kaliru in Tamil actually means elephant. So through elephant, he's metaphorically saying, even if an elephant is like wounded by multiple arrows, where like somebody is like trying to hunt the elephant, I mean, think of it metaphorically. It's not just somebody's actually hunting an elephant. Metaphorically, he's trying to say that elephant is such a big animal. It's so big, and if it's wounded heavily, even despite of the fact that it faces multiple arrows, it tries to stand on its own feet and leg after some time. So it endures the pain and then comes over that, and then make sure that it again like try to reestablish itself. And it's such a mighty animal that is able to do that with so much of like weight around it, etc., with so much of wound around it. And similarly, people who are strong and steady, basically would be able to endure any sort of like pain they come across and be able to reestablish themselves. um, why I am talking about this? Two reasons. I can draw some parallels of whatever is happening here around my personal life, as well as like what's happening back in my hometown, Chennai. You all might be following the news that Chennai has been like facing heavy rain. To give you a rough estimate, on an average in the last 2 days, the highest rainfall was approximately 40 centimeters, which is way, way above what a city could actually, withstand for, which means that everywhere in Chennai it's flooded, inundated with water. Several of my friends and family members reported that water actually seepage into their house, and a lot of people in the low-lying areas are like even more affected. There were like roads which were like having water up to hip height, and even like more in some of the areas that were like near lakes and stuff. I also was following the news, and I was also following the social media channels, and I'm also following some of the people who are in the ground helping people. And the government and the government agencies and the machineries and mechanisms did like a lot of great work this time. They were prepared for such a heavy rainfall, not probably for such a huge rainfall, but they were prepared for a rainfall. But the cyclone did bring much more water or like rain than it normally does. The reason I'm talking about this is that it has directly to do with the climate change that we have been speaking about. um, Several of the coastal cities particularly are prone, or like going to be prone to such climate devastations in the future, because of the impact that we have, the climate change is, the impact that we have caused to the climate change in the atmosphere through our consumptions and whatnot, through the industrial revolutions and stuff. So with the rain, there are like several areas that were like inundated, and several areas that are like still in flood waters. But particularly once the rain stopped, the we could see that several areas also got back on its feet, particularly the water drained, which is good because there was like a lot of work that went into clearing storm water drain and stuff. um, but if you go back and then see historically, Chennai is a city that's sitting on the coast, and then everything, the landscape is particularly naturally, going to help the water flow into the sea. But what happened in this case is that, particularly this time, there was also high tide because of the cyclone that was going through at that time. And due to the high tide, when high tides happen, what happens is the water level in the sea rises, and the tides actually try to push back the water into the river. Which actually has that mouth open into the sea, where the river flows and meets the sea. So the water is actually coming back from one end, and the water is trying to flow from one end. So this causes a lot of impact on the water to recede into the sea, because you're not having that sort of like consistent flow. And this means that so many water streams that are leading to the river is actually going to get more water back from the sea as well. Again, water coming from the rain as well, and then everywhere it's just inundated and then flood. The water has no ways to flow. um, Apparently, if you go back historically, I mean, Chennai was built with so many canals around, and all these canals used to be like ways to also use, sort of like transportation, logistically, moving from one place to other. And then these canals were then flowing into Adyar River, the Coom River, and then the Coom River actually carries all the sort of like water back to the sea. But the Chennai also had like lots of lakes and marshlands, and apparently, as the city grow, you see urban sprawl, and when urban sprawl comes up, like, people occupy the lakes. Lakes were filled up with beds, and then we also like construct houses there. And we also have lake view apartments, right? So most of these lakes have been taken over, so there's no place for the water to flow. If you see a city like Mumbai, that's actually built particularly with expectation of high rainfall. And if you see every year in June, July, August, Mumbai receives like heavy rainfall. You see like waterlogging everywhere, but then the water also recedes within a couple of days or weeks. But Chennai is not a city that was built with so much of water expected to come. But despite the fact that this time, I should definitely give it out to the Chennai corporation people and also to the government. They did like a humongous job in making sure that they come back and stand on their feet again. um, why I am again saying is that in 2015 there was like such a huge floods, which I was also a part of, where we led a lot of large scale relief and rehabilitation efforts. And similarly, this year too, there are several volunteers who are on the ground doing relief and rehabilitation efforts. You also should give a huge shout out to the corporation workers who are bearing the rain, including people who supply milk, who clean the roads, who clean the stormwater drain, who are ready to restore the electric supply and stuff. So the difference between the 2015 flood and this year is that there has not been many lives lost. In 2015, there were like more than 500 people who got killed due to the floods, but this year, none of the people actually got killed due to the floods, which itself is like a humongous and great effort. And there was like a lot of focus on the Chennai city itself. So the city and the roads are like now dry, except for the few areas which are still underwater logging. And I'm pretty sure that in the next 2 3 days, the government would put their entire body and machinery in like clearing that. And similarly, the suburb of the Chennai is also like completely inundated, and a lot of areas still have like so much of water, which I think the government would be like looking to clear and clarify. Volunteers are providing relief materials, supplying food to places, organizing relief operations. I know several Twitter handles who are prominent in actually sharing all of these messages across each other. And this is something that I thoroughly love about Chennai, because it's actually built to it's a city which helps each other, right? I recently read a Twitter post, or like X post, by someone who said that, if somebody is actually shutting their shop because it's raining and it's, cyclone, they try to put some water cans outside of the shop, saying that somebody might need it, and then shut their shop and go, so that if somebody needs it, they can pick it up. So it's that kind of city which always is looking forward to help each other and making sure that we stand back tall again on our own feet as soon as this sort of like natural calamity passes. So that's what resilience is all about. We saw floods in 2015. We saw humongous amount of water logging. We saw humongous amount of people coming together and helping each other. The city actually stood back in like less than a week. We were cut off with airport. Even now, the airport was cut off for a couple of hours, or like if not for like a day. There were like no sort of like road and rail transportation in 2015, but right now I think the road and rail transportation is restored already, despite the fact that the volume of water or the rain was like much more than 2015. And yeah, so once the relief material starts to come in, I'm also pretty sure that the state government has requested the union government to release some funds and declare this as like one of the national disaster, because the volume of water this cyclone Mishang spot has been like incredibly high. And again, speaking of resilience, Chennai people and Chennai will stand back on their feet and study. So this is what like hard people and people who are built with that sort of like grit too, right? Like every time you fall down, you try to, get back on your feet and then try to punch harder, try to do more, try to help each other, and make sure that um you get back to normal as soon as possible, and then build it on top of it. So trying to build on top of it was what is matters, and that's what Tiruvallur also said in the Tirukural. So that's one aspect of it, like one part of it, like why I spoke about resilience. And the second part is also like something that I have to do with personal. So I actually applied for a job which had something to do with climate change and resilience, and I'm hoping that I'll get through that. I'm not sure. I should not be like talking much about it. I just want that job because I think that I have a lot of knowledge, and I can bring a lot to the table, particularly in terms of the climate change, rain, floods, and resilience. That's the area that I'm experienced in. Speaking to myself about like being resilient, I've gone through some hardships in the past as well, and even now, particularly when I don't have a job, which I continue to tell you folks because like I share everything with you. We are friends. So yeah, I'm trying to search for a job, and I think if I'm able to land on a job before this side of Christmas, that would be like really great because I can actually think of going on a holiday. If not, then I'm pretty sure that somewhere early in Jan next year, or like in the next year, I'll try to find one. Um, so every time like when look at the mirror, and I tell this to myself, you've been there in the past, you've done it, so back yourself up, continue to like push hard, and keep trying on the opportunities and the things that you feel that you should be doing, and somewhere the results would come. Take They say that like take one day at a time, so that's kind of like my approach. And you know what? Today, after a long time, I played cricket. One of my friends called me, asked me that would you like to join for the net practice session in the Richard Hadley Sports Center. Like today is the first time I ever visited that indoor facility, folks. It's like amazing. Wow, what a wonderful world class facility, and what a wonderful opportunity for people like me to be able to go there and play. So if you know or like don't know Sir Richard Hadley, he was one of the finest fast bowler the world ever had, and he's from New Zealand. He was the first to actually have that sort of like world's highest wicket taking before Kapil Dev, and I think Kapil Dev broke his record. I might be wrong. I'm sorry. But that's the sort of like history I know about Sir Richard Hadley. There was a Sir Richard Hadley Pavilion before where I have been to in the Hagley Oval. It's such a beautiful ground. Like ultimately, you know um the first ever cricket match I watched on TV was in Christchurch. I mean, not in Christchurch. The match was happening in Christchurch. I was in India. I was in my hometown, Ambasamudram, and that was a match between India and New Zealand. I think it was Brian McCullum, if I'm not wrong, the bowler to Sachin Tendulkar, and the match was in Hagley Oval, and I saw a beautiful cover drive of Sachin in Christchurch. So ever since then I have always manifested that I wanted to go to this ground and see how it looks like. And It's amazing. And the first ever match I watched in the Christchurch Hagley Oval was between India and Pakistan under 19 semifinals, where I think Shubman Gill made 100. What a fantastic inning that was. And then ever since then, I've watched several matches. And one particular fondly remembered match is between Indian women team versus like South African women, if I'm not wrong, where I managed to take a slate where I wrote, "I love, love you, Smriti," when Smriti Mandana was batting, and then I was able to erase it and then write, "Love you, Harman," when Harmanpreet was batting, and this was shown on Star Sports Live, where my friends actually was able to capture that and send it to me. Yeah, so those are some of the fond memories of the Hagley Oval. Apparently, the India South Africa match, India lost. We came very close to winning the match. And then we lost the match, and then in South Africa went on to lose to Australia in the final, where he made like some brilliant runs. So yeah, why I'm saying is that the Christchurch Hagley Oval is such a beautiful ground, but I never knew that such an indoor cricketing facility existed for people to practice. So I went there. We had this bowling machine. Particularly, I've never played a machine throwing ball at you. And the beauty is that it can swing the ball both the ways, and it can also like bowl at like different paces. And it was so interesting to be able to play after such a long time. I used to play like this 40 over cricket match with the Sydenham club a couple of years ago, but after a point of time, I stopped playing because I couldn't find that sort of like time myself to be able to play for 7 to 8 hours on like weekends, because I was one doing two jobs at that time, and then two, I was also like focusing a lot on my personal well-being, so I wanted to have that sort of like time, and I couldn't like play for a long time. But what happened eventually is now I think that I should start to play some sort of like sport without me doing the archery stuff, and then without me being able to go and do any physical sporting exercise. One thing that I've been thinking is maybe we should hit the gym. I'm not like a big gym person though. In between when I was in Australia, like I was actually starting to walk because I didn't have a car there, right? So I had to walk. So every day I would at least walk more than 10,000 to 15,000 steps. But back in Christchurch, I've stopped walking, like because I have a car. Like you just go and pick up your car everywhere you go around in the car, etc. Right? So I stopped walking. So I wanted to get back to the habit of doing some physical activity, and I think playing cricket would help me. I've been trying to push some of my friends to play badminton with me, but that's not happening. But I do know that this weekend matches happen, but I'm pretty sure that I can't play consistently every week. So I'm pretty much in a dilemma of like what to do. So maybe if some team needs some sort of like standout player, no, the 12th man, or like maybe someone who they can actually call upon if their players are like not playing that week. Maybe I can chime in as that sort of like the joker, and then play a couple of matches. Speaking of which, I do thoroughly enjoy bowling, but I think I have not been bowling for quite a while now. It's been like too long. And then recently, when I came back, I mean, a couple of years ago when I played with the Sydenham team, my bowling did not have a great impact because my lines were like not good. It was like going too short, and people were able to easily score off my bowling. So I never used to or like got to ball, but then I transformed into a good batsman though. Like I'm someone who always says that have that sort of like perseverance, which also has something to do with the resilience, right? You should be actually able to pause yourself and then give yourself that sort of like time and be patient, and if you see, being patient means that allowing yourself more time in the crease, try to read the conditions, and then take one ball at a time, like how I said, that taking one day at a time, and then I'm pretty sure that the more time you spend in the crease, the runs will automatically come on the board. So an advice that I generally used to give to my team members is that at least try to play 30 balls, because in a 40 over format, if your top five could play at least 30 balls, that itself actually is a big thing, and automatically you will start to see runs on the board. But generally people don't have patience. They always want to hit balls, like, I don't know why. That's been some of the sort of like mentality. But then the team actually is doing great. They won a couple of seasons as well. I've been following their scores, and it's been going good. But I'm not sure if I will be able to again like play 40 over game. I'm interested to play like 20 over maybe, or like even a shorter format, where you just get to do some physical activity, some running, some bowling, some fielding and catching, etc. um I also used to enjoy fielding as much as I enjoyed bowling, because it always excites to be at the point, look at that one stump, and then take an aim and throw on it whenever you get a chance to run out. I actually have remember and I have some fond memories of like running out so many people from being at point, when I used to play cricket with the IIT Delhi staff team. That as well, like, I mean, I used to feel at points. I've taken some flying catches. I've stopped some like amazing stops, diving to my left and right and whatnot, which again brings me the joy of being able to go out and then do some sort of like physical activity, and also have fun and enjoy things that you enjoy doing. So yeah, I think this season, maybe in the summer, if I get some time after getting a job though, I'm thinking of probably going and playing cricket, most likely the 2020 over 2020 format, or like the 20 over ones happening. But yeah, again, like coming back to the Richard Hadley indoor sporting facility, what an amazing infrastructure they've got. There are like, I think 5 lanes and a couple of bowling machines. All you have to do is to go on pre-book online, and anyone can book it, which is so cool. You don't need to be a member or like pay an annual subscription, etc. And that's why like cricket is so great, and it's an indoor facility. No matter that whether it is raining, shining, you get to play. All you need is like a couple of folks, one person to make sure that they throw the ball, and the other person can bat. So two people book and go and play, and I'm thinking of like going there regularly with my friends, and making sure that I get to be in touch with, so good to actually bat after a long time, right? So um particularly with the variation of paces and bounds, it was so good to drive those balls. We also happened to take some video shots today, and apparently, in case if I get those video shots, I'm planning to upload that to my social handles. But folks, yeah. You also should do some sort of like physical activity and exercise, and kind of like the theme of this sort of like week's conversation has been around resilience. No matter what's happening in your life right now, please allow yourself that time and back yourself up, and stay calm, be patient, and pursue. Perseverance is important, and endure through that phase. And there is always light at the end of the tunnel. So once you get through this phase, you're going to be doing well, you're going to do good, you're going to do better than what you're doing today. So allow yourself that sort of like time, be that strong and steady, and be resilient is what I would want to say. And I'm wishing all the best for volunteers in Chennai, doing their hard work, particularly to make sure that they provide this sort of like relief materials to people, and helping the city again coming back to its own foot. And within no time, I'm pretty sure Chennai will bounce back. And similarly, like Chennai, I'm a Chennaiite, I'm a proud Chennaiite, I will also bounce back. And I also recommend you all, whoever is going through hard time, to be able to bounce back. And please do let us know what you feel. We are almost at the end of the episode, folks. So I again got a few comments about the last week's conversation with Soumya. Thanks to her, she took some time off to ask those questions. We spoke about time management. I think she still has like a lot more questions to ask. Maybe we'll do another show talking about time management. And in case if you have any questions, please do ask them, and post them in the comments. Like our channel, subscribe to it. India Lives, where Color Come Live is bringing you so many things across from New Zealand, to your doorstep. And send us an email in case if you can't comment. We are available at indialivepresenters@gmail.com. And as always, like, I would like to encourage you to take care of yourself and be safe, and enjoy the summer and good weather. I will again see you next week on Wednesday on Trendy Thalaiva Selva on India Live, where colors come live. Until then, bye. Take care, folks.